Your iconic hat, the top hat, it instantly made you special. Am I correct?
I don't know. I mean, it definitely became like a thing that got recognized. It wasn't intentional, you know, so I didn't sort of see it coming, but then eventually it did. It became like a signature kind of a thing.
Do you still wear it on stage?
Yeah, I wear it on stage and, you know, for photos and stuff, but you don't wear it on the street anymore because it's just...
It's ridiculous.
It's like
Hey, they're slashing his hat.
I couldn't think of a better word. Yeah.
When you were first starting out, did you wear it in the street, the hat?
Uh-huh.
You did. And would it blow off in the wind? Because it's a stovepipe kind of hat.
You know what?
It's like Lincoln.
It's just tall enough to be tall, but just short enough not to get knocked out by a gust of wind.
But doesn't it take balls to wear a hat like that? Seriously. I mean, people notice you when you wear a hat like that. And I bet you caught a lot of shit for wearing that hat.
How old were you when you decided to wear that hat?
Yeah, that's a good question. I no one ever gave me shit for it.
No? Well, you're a tough guy.
You know, because you just wear it and you're like in everybody's face. Especially,
right.
You know, that was sort of like the way it was anyway. It was sort of like this
How
is what
old
we
were
do.
you?
20.
Okay.
Is it true you stole that hat?
Uh-huh.
And you couldn't at the time. You had no money. I mean, it's pretty
Right.
legendary. You guys were broke.
I was walking around Melrose. We had a show that night at the Whiskey, and I guess I was just cruising around looking for shit to bill for. And
did you steal a lot of stuff at that point in your life? Where you were?
No, I wasn't. I sort of got past my klepto phase, but every so often I would lift something that wasn't going to turn anybody a huge profit, you know.
How do you lift a hat that size, though?
Just sort of walk out with it casually, and people just don't really notice.
In a way, that became like your good luck symbol. And when you steal it, doesn't that fuck up your karma? Maybe that's why all the lead singer problems.
Because not too long after that, I got drunk at the Cat House and passed out, and someone stole it from me.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah,
and then you had to go get another one?
Yeah.
You paid for that.
And then I had to pay for the next one. Yeah.
How many of those hats do you own?
I only have like 4.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and one of them Lemmy just gave me. So,
Lemmy from Motorhead.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying this facetiously. Not that you had a calculated move, but it is a brilliant move because it distinguished you right away. And if you remember the time that Guns N' Roses became huge, there were so many bands. I mean, and maybe you resented, did you resent Motley Crue? Were you and Guns N' Roses sort of the anti...
Well, Motley Crue, I never resented Motley Crue because they always... I first became aware of them, actually Nicky Sixx, back when he had a band called London. So he was like the original sort of glam metal guy from the 70s, from the late 70s. So when he started Motley Crue, it was way ahead of everybody else.
So you didn't resent those guys, but there were a bunch of bands that kind of.
But then after that, then everybody was, I think from Van Halen on, really, it was when that sort of whole spandex thing came in, and we were definitely the antithesis of that. We hated that shit.
But what was weird, Axl then would sometimes go on stage and almost, wear like the kilt and the stockings and the, he almost went to that look, but...
No, it was still different.
It was, right?
And it's just an attitude, the thing about Guns N' Roses in the club days, I mean, in general, was just a very much a fuck you. This is what we do, which was a genuine attitude, and how we went around, whereas everybody else was all trying to jump on the bandwagon.
Would Guns N' Roses ever have a meeting about clothing? Now I know this sounds weird. No, but think about it. If one of the guys showed up in spandex or something that sort of was reminiscent of a spandex kind of band or something, wouldn't you sit those guys down and say, look, we represent a certain thing in rock and roll. We're very pure about it. This looks ridiculous.
No, it wasn't as image conscious. We just sort of, everybody had their own sort of thing.
What made it work to me is that it was the songwriting process. Didn't you write most of the music?
Well, no. I mean, I wrote a lot of, I came in with a lot of really cool sort of riff stuff that you'd be real familiar with. But as a songwriting team, we really did it together. I mean,
the whole band.
Yeah, we'd sit in a room. I mean, those songs really. I mean, from a musical point of view, I don't want to speak on a lyrical point of view, but from a musical point of view, they almost wrote themselves. Like a song would take maybe, some hours to finish from top to bottom.
Amazing, right?
So it was just that kind of. It was.
But Axl would come up with the lyric.
Mm-hmm.
And so
unless Izzy did. Sometimes Izzy came up with lyrics, too.
The way I heard it went in your band is that you'd be sitting there and go, and then Axl would walk in and go, hey, man, I could sing to that.
Well, there's no sort of set pattern. I mean, songs really came out of whatever was going on at that time. So there's no rule as to how the songs were written. But
But
sometimes there'd be a riff and it would inspire the other guy, and we'd start jamming on it, and then Axl would hear it, and we're talking about like the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we got into like the User Illusions records, then there was a whole then it was a whole different dynamic.
Right, you guys were famous by then and wealthy,
Fucked up and famous,
and on drugs,
Yeah.
and so fucked up that the whole process changed.
It
right?
was just hard to get it together to get in the studio to do that, but we finally did. And it was actually a pretty amazing accomplishment.